This podcast is an affiliate of BCW Supplies. The next time you need to restock on comic book bags, boards, boxes, and more, be sure to use promo code FSP to save 10% on your order. That's FSP for Flat Squirrel Productions. It helps support the show too. Thank you. Single Bound is a new podcast series hosted by married couple Amy and Logan as they review single issues of comics. And if the title makes you think of Superman, you're not alone, as the Man of Steel is a regular topic of discussion. Listen and subscribe on Spotify and YouTube, and follow the show on Instagram at Single Bound Podcast. In the 1950s, George Reeves embodied the Man of Steel in Superman's first television adaptation, from its gritty black and white beginnings to the kid-friendly color years. To this day, an entire generation reveres George as their Superman, while for others, the show remains an overlooked, underrated chapter in the character's history. On this podcast, we bring everyone together as we break down each episode of Adventures of Superman, examining it within the context of the series itself, as well as the larger Superman mythology. Welcome to another exciting episode in the Adventures of Superman. I'm your host, Anthony Desiato. Joining me to discuss Season 3, Episode 9, The Magic Necklace, is the host of Always Hold On to Smallville, returning guest, Zach Moore. Welcome to the color era, my friend.
Yeah, it looks different around here than last time I was here, Anthony.
Little bit. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe you are watching along with us and that this is your first time through the color episodes. How are you finding them so far?
Yeah, I am. So I've had these DVDs for the Adventures of Superman not since 2006. I think that's maybe when I was gifted the first one, and then over various holidays, birthdays, Christmases, I was gifted the whole set, which has sat unopened. At least seasons 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 have sat unopened until now, because for whatever reason, I gave you my Adventures of Superman origin story way back in the day. When I watched them on Nickelodeon and Nick at Night back in the day, I feel like it was only the black and white episodes. So those are the ones that I had some childhood connection memory to. And then I had opened up the DVDs, over the years and watched the first season all the way through, and then a lot of the second season. But this is uncharted territory for me, the color years. And we're kind of hit or miss so far. It hasn't been a whole miss. They're like the episode Superman Week was one that stuck out to me. I was like, that's a really enjoyable, solid episode, right? And then and now that brings us to this one.
So this episode here, The Magic Necklace, our brief synopsis here. Superman follows Lois and Jimmy to Tibet when they are taken hostage by a gangster in search of a legendary archaeological find that can supposedly protect its wearer from harm. This aired on September 17th, 1955, written by Jackson Gillis, directed by George Blair. Our guest cast for this episode, we have Lawrence Ryle as Jake Morrell. He was in the Star of Fate episode. Leonard Moody as Professor Jody. Famously, he was in the Ghost for Scotland Yard episode. Frank Jenks as Lazy. John Harmon as Clicker. And Paul Fierro as Abdul, the turban-wearing servant in the episode. Now, I think the original reason why I thought of you for this episode is very superficial.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, it's very superficial, but I look for connection points wherever I could possibly find them. And when I was going back and reading the descriptions just to, remind myself of what each episode was about, I'm like, a Superman story with the magic necklace. So instantly I go to season 10 of Smallville and the ISIS episode. And I was like, Zach, you want to do this one?
Sure,
Very different kinds of episodes.
I was not going to say that word again on podcast microphone to protect myself from, but okay, I see the connection now. Very different, as you said. You calling out those guest stars there. I did look it up. I'm like, these guys look familiar. And Jake Morrell, right, the main guy after the necklace. He's in the Egypt episode. Just do the same thing.
Yeah,
he's like
Star
after
of Fate.
you should have made him the same guy. He's just after artifacts. So talking about continuity, there's some continuity for you if you wanted to do that.
This has come up so many times, and it will continue to come up as we make our way through the rest of these. It's like it's infuriating when it's an instance like this, where it's like, just make him the same guy. Like this is his thing. No, I know.
Light tweak. You mentioned the ISIS in Smallville, right? Or Lois gets possessed by ISIS. I don't know. I mean, you've seen the whole show now. You've gone through. They're getting into more mystical, wacky things as the show goes on. It feels like possessions would be a great thing. I mean, Smallville did it. I had a whole counter on my podcast about it. I feel like, Jimmy or Lois being possessed by other entities would be a go-to plot for them. Is that, can we expect some of that as the show progresses?
No. I mean, unless I'm not remembering or blanking on something, but no. And that's actually one of the things I was going to mention with this. It's striking to me that this show, as wacky and wild as it could get in certain episodes, and look, we kicked off season 3 with Through the Time Barrier, where they traveled to 50,000 BC, but even there, it's still grounded in science.
Yeah. As
fantastical as it might be, but it was still, there was some sort of real world explanation for it. And in an episode like this, where you're dealing with the magic necklace, it's like you might expect them to lean into it. And I was thinking about this because at this point, right, 1955, we're not yet, I think technically in terms of Superman comics, we're in the Atomic Age. It's like that nebulous period between Golden and the official start of Silver Age. But regardless of kind of how you draw those lines, in the comics, we weren't yet into like the full on Silver Age weirdness that we would see with the Superman books. Yet, Mxyzptlk existed as a character. Like there were stories that dealt with that side of things in the comics. So it is kind of surprising. And I don't know if it's for better or worse that the show never delved into that territory. Part of me feels like, yeah, maybe they just should have, like, just really go for it. I don't know. How do you feel? Like, do you wish that they had actually pushed that?
I mean, it would mix it up a little bit, right? I mean, to the Color Year's credit, they are mixing some things up, right? We have the allegedly ghosts of Julius Caesar, but it's like a Scooby-Doo thing, and so the things like that. So they're not going too, but yeah, again, time travel, which to me is like a huge jumping of the shark for this kind of show. Once you do that, you can do anything. I don't know. Like I haven't seen the whole show like you have, but I feel like even in these more, kid friendly, fun episodes, it's usually guys in fedoras and 3-piece suits and Tommy guns and whatever, right? It's like, if you don't do that, you could mix it up a little more, but they don't even have Lex Luthor, right? We're going to keep going back to that. I think it's like, they don't even do that. I get why they want to do something more fantastical, but maybe it was a budget thing. That's why I go to Possession. Why do you think Michael Rosenbaum played Zod and John Glover played Darkseid on Smallville for budget? So they don't have a budget. So just, Jimmy's been possessed by the spirit of the dragon. There's right. Just, it's, to me, that's like an obvious thing for them to do.
I mean, can you imagine an episode where Clark and Jimmy switched bodies? And you had George Reeves playing Jimmy and like, I don't know, just stuff. You don't even need another guest actor.
Yeah.
You can just have a swap.
And you give them amnesia at the end, which is another thing. Like they don't do, in season, we're talking about all kinds of other things now, but like in season 1, they had the person who hypnotizes people. That was the only time I think there was amnesia on the show, because Lois finds out Clark is Superman for like 5 minutes. And that's kind of interesting. And then she forgets. I don't know if amnesia comes. I'm asking you all these things about the show now that I haven't seen, but like amnesia is Smallville abuses that so bad. And they, like a show like this, I feel like you could have some fun with that, but I haven't seen it. So just ideas for the writer's room in 1955 from 2025. You're welcome, everybody. So
I know, but I think the questions are natural ones to have, certainly from our perspective, having consumed all of these other stories. But I don't know, even just looking at this in a vacuum and recognizing the context and the comic book stories that existed at the time, I don't think some of these things would have been that outlandish for them to do based on what was already in the comics.
Last pregame question. We'll get into this here. Was the Jimmy Olsen comic book being published at the time? I knew that because of this show's popularity, Jack Larson was so popular, they made the comic, but was that concurrent or was that after?
It started during the run of the show.
Okay. Because that's when things got really wacky in the comics, right?
Yes and no, because I've not gone back and read a lot of those early Jimmy Olsen comics, but I did read the first one, and my understanding is that the first good chunk of issues were kind of in this category. They were relatively mundane, because again, we still weren't in full-on Silver Age territory yet. So yeah, so I don't think that I don't know that there was a huge disconnect between the Jimmy Olsen comics and what we were seeing here. But like I said, that's my understanding. For people who are more or better versed in that, please let us know. But all right, so as far as this episode, I'll get into my breakdown here and we'll share our thoughts. But just overall, big picture, what were your impressions of this one?
There was a bit of a double twist in it, which I appreciated. That adds a layer of sophistication that I didn't expect from a lot of these, color episodes. Sometimes there's not. Sometimes it's just pretty straightforward. And I liked they were out of Metropolis. They were on location for most of it. That was exciting. So it was decently entertaining, despite some of the nonsense I'm sure we'll talk about. I had a good time watching it.
Good. That's the most important thing. I would say overall I did too. I thought this was solid. We'll get to it, but there's one scene in this episode that I feel like the whole thing could and arguably should have revolved around. It was like, this is your episode here, but it's brushed past so quickly. So we'll talk about it. All right. As we open here, after hours at the Metropolis Museum, millionaire crook Jake Morrell and his accomplices break into shipping crates from Professor Jody's exhibition. Clicker and Lazy each test a necklace by donning them, then drinking poison, which the right necklace will purportedly protect them from. When the necklaces fail to work within 2 minutes, they take an antidote. Lois and Jimmy, meanwhile, arrive in search of the night watchman to try to determine who's been breaking into shipping crates, though not stealing anything. They're intercepted by Morrell, and Lois surmises that he's searching for the so-called magic necklace. She claims it's just a legend, and that Professor Jody hasn't even sent it yet. When Morrell asks how she knows all this, Jimmy announces Lois as the best woman reporter in Metropolis. Morrell promptly takes Lois and Jimmy hostage. So what'd you make of this opening here?
You think in season 1, do you think the guys would have actually died?
I had that exact thought. I was like, if we were in season 1, that guy would be a goner, like 100%.
Yeah, because I was like, they're literally bringing them back to life with this antidote. Like they fall over dead. He's like, okay, give him the antidote. I'm like, I don't know. It's probably a little late for that at that point. But no, it was. I love museums at night. There's something cool about that. So many movies happen, like stuff goes down in a museum at night, literally Night of the Museum for one, but other movies as well. So I think that's a cool setting. It's very the Mummy and that sort of stuff. So that's a cool setup, right? That's if you're going to introduce something magical, have it come from the ancient past, like that's cool. I think that's a good hook.
Yeah. No, I agree. I like that. I like the setting. Had the same thought about how that guy would have been dead. It's like, it's just so much gentler here. So yeah, the guys survive. What drove me nuts in this episode? Clicker, the clicking of the teeth. Oh, I did not like that. Just something about that sound.
Yeah. I guess that's why they call him Clicker. Hey, he's a memorable henchman. So I'll give him that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of interchangeable henchmen on this show. I believe that guy was in an episode of Star Trek. I didn't look it up, but he looked extremely familiar to me, Clicker. So that was maybe that was his gimmick. He's like, hey, that's how he got the jobs on all these things. He can be a clicker. I don't remember him clicking on Star Trek, but yes, best woman reporter in Metropolis. I also clocked that line.
Yeah. Not to nitpick, but at the same time, that's what we're here for. But I wish we had maybe gotten a second pass at that scene where Lois and Jimmy don't volunteer so much, right? Like I wish it had been flipped where it's more of Morrell and his guys pressing them, or they recognize her, or they grab her purse and they see her press pass and it's like, oh, Daly. It's like they just give up too much. Like Lois instantly is like, you must be here for the magic necklace. Why? He hasn't even shipped it yet. Why are you telling him this?
But she does try to get out of it. Like, oh, sorry, never mind. I don't recognize you after all. She tries to leave, but it's too late at that point. And they do get kidnapped. But again, I guess my point about them not being in Metropolis, they get kidnapped and get taken to another country instead of like just some room, like usually in the show, right?
Yeah, I know. And we'll get to Tibet. The other thing that I was wondering, they specifically, not maybe so much in this scene, but I think coming up here, they do directly refer to Jake Morrell as the millionaire crook. What do you think this guy's backstory is? Like, was he already a millionaire and he turned to crime just for thrills? Did he commit these crimes and somehow got away with it, and that's how he became a millionaire? Like, what's his deal?
The millionaire crook. That is an interesting alias to have. Yeah, I would say, he's like the guy from The Human Bomb, right? I was on that episode. Bet $1 million Butler, right? I mean, he's a rich guy. They're bored. They're just doing crazy stuff at this point. You're looking for thrills. So I'm going to say that he was born into privilege, right? And he's just looking for thrills at this point.
That's my headcanon for this guy. I think that's way more interesting if that's
than just a guy that stole a bunch of money and became a millionaire.
Well, and it also tracks. I mean, either way, it would track why he or anyone would want this. But Yeah, I kind of like it. Like if you've been born into privilege and then you've turned to this life of crime for thrills, it's like, well, then what's the next level here? So now you turn to this legendary artifact. I like that.
Yeah.
I go with that. Fat Moose Comics, established in 1982, is New Jersey's best and oldest comic book store. Moose has that rare old-school comic shop feel and camaraderie, yet also remains a welcoming space for new fans. Visit them in person in Whippany, New Jersey, or reach out via the Fat Moose Comics Facebook page. Whether you're an independent filmmaker or you just love movies, don't miss these New Jersey film festivals. Brightside Tavern in Jersey City, Hang On to Your Shorts in Asbury Park, and Round Reel in Bloomfield. Submission information for filmmakers can be found at filmfreeway.com. If you have children and want a family-friendly store, look no further than Aw Yeah Comics. Visit one of their 3 locations, Harrison, New York, Muncie, Indiana, or Skokie, Illinois, and check out awyeahcomics.com for more. Their name says exactly how they feel about it. Aw yeah. The next day, Perry barks at Clark over Lois's whereabouts. Clark tells Perry to calm down as he gets a call that Lois's wallet was found on an airport runway. At the airport, Clark learns a private plane recently took off for Africa. Henderson later confirms the plane is owned by Morrell and that it stopped in Pakistan, leading Clark and Perry to conclude that Morrell has Lois and Jimmy and is headed for the necklace in Tibet. Perry claims there is not time to find Superman and sends Clark on his way.
So this is Perry's only couple scenes in the episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. These are good Perry scenes because at first he's like, you hear him in the hallway, Lois, Jimmy, does anybody come to work on time? He comes into Clark's office. Clark's just chilling there. There's so many just Clark this season in particular. Maybe it's the whole show, but like him just chilling in his office, got his feet up. He's just, I love that. That's what we love about this Clark, right?
He's not perched on a building gargoyle listening for trouble in the city or floating above the earth. No, he's not just hanging out.
He's came to work on time. Is at his desk. And then when they end up, making the phone calls, when Clark's going to leave, Perry's like, well, I'll try to get in touch with Superman. And Clark's like, you do that, Chief.
Yeah.
It's just, there's always like at least one in some of the better episodes. There's like 2 or 3 moments of George Reeves just doing that whole, okay, good luck with that Superman kind of joke. And he doesn't wink at the camera there. It's just a funny line or situation that they always kind of capitalize on. And I appreciate that. Right.
Yeah, for sure. And really, I do love that bit where he just shushes Perry when he's taking that call. That's great. I don't know how well that plays into the whole meek and mild act or image that some people sometimes have of him, but
right.
It's a fun bit.
Well, that's the whole the paradox of this show. We're like, Clark, you're such a wimp. Oh, was there gunfire? Oh, let me go hide. Oh, I can't stand it. And then call Clark. And you guys say this on the podcast all the time. It's like, call Kid. He's the one that can save us.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, no, I like that back and forth. And yeah, I like the little bit of investigation here at the airport and all the business stuff. Yeah.
Very smart from Lois too. Like that's a smart move.
Yes, I like that. You're right. That was a great bit where, she had the foresight to drop her wallet so it would be found. Yeah, it was very good. Superman arrives in Tibet. Inside Professor Jody's base of operations, the fame-hungry archaeologist and his servant, Abdul, are speaking with the Indian press about the power of Jody's discovery, the Taiwan necklace, to protect its wearer from harm. Clark enters and displays skepticism, so Jody puts the necklace on him and directs Abdul to stab him. And I guess as we'll learn later, right, because this is all part of this ruse, and there's a breakable knife and a gun that has blanks in it, so presumably the plan was stab him with this breakable knife, right? It'll break on him, and this will seemingly prove the power of the necklace.
Right. Now, I assume this is the whole thing you were talking about earlier, where they could have made the whole episode around this, huh? Where Clark has the invincible necklace on, and then he, gets shot, and they could spin a whole thing about that. Maybe the necklace could have been real at that point, and he would have to explain. Like that's a great. I mean, I enjoyed the episode well enough, but like, man, they really could have dug into that whole thing about Clark being invincible and trying to blame the necklace and that sort of thing, right? And
that's it. So let me go through that real quick, and then we'll pick up on that more, because that's exactly what I was thinking as I was watching this. Just then, Morrell and crew and their hostages enter, a gun falls and goes off, and Clark is seemingly shot but unharmed. We hear a secret conversation between Jody and Abdul revealing that the necklace is indeed a scam, and Jody decides to take advantage of the situation as proof of the necklace's power. Clark plays off being shot and tries to get Lois and Jimmy out, but they're stopped by Morell's man. So that's the thing as I'm watching this, and especially as I was reflecting on it after, it's like, this is your episode. Clark is forced to wear this necklace that allegedly has this power. He's shot. Make it such that he is shot point blank, and there is no explanation other than either he's Superman or this necklace actually has the power. And yes, there are lines to that effect, but he's still really easily able to play it off as just some fluke. He was lucky. It bounced.
Oh, it just grazed me right here. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, that's your episode. And then what does he do? Because then I was playing it out. I was like, okay, wait. Then I feel like he has to use his powers to continue this ruse, right? He has to use his powers, whether they're testing it on him or someone else, to make it seem like the necklace is working. And then by the end of the episode, the necklace is lost or destroyed or something like that.
I wish I still had that necklace. It was great to feel like Superman. That's the end. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, come on. I mean, I feel like...
No, I mean, what they did wasn't terrible or anything. It's just a fun opportunity. Like when you have that opportunity, well, how often are you going to have that opportunity where he can get away with being shot like that? And then it's a lot of hijinks can ensue from there. So yeah, we were both on the same wavelength there. Like he easily kind of talks it off, and then they kind of believe his story. But no, that was a surprise to me because again, they like you said, they had that side conversation, the professor and his assistant, and they're like, oh, well, I didn't know. I thought it was going to, again, they're doing time travel on this show. I thought, I thought it would be the titular magic necklace. So it was a surprise to me that it was a fake. And that adds that layer of sophistication.
Yeah.
Because we'll find out later, why this guy's doing this. But I thought that was a good turn. Even though they didn't go the way we were talking about with the powers, I thought that was a nice twist of the story, though.
Yeah. I mean, if they had gone, that really would have been a different show if they had gone into that magic territory. If they had, I still think you could have preserved the human element, but I think by taking the track that they did, as they consistently did across all of these episodes, I think it does allow you to retain that human component. And especially when we get in the next scene here to the conversation between Clark and Jody about why he's doing all of this. And he's, this is his one chance, right, to make his fortune and make his mark and all of that. Yeah, there's something to that. I agree. There is that added layer there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm okay with it not actually being magical. I just wanted more with that bit there. I just feel like they could have really made a meal out of it.
Yeah.
Everyone goes to the cave where Jody allegedly found the necklace. He displays its power by surviving a stabbing and gunfire at the hands of Abdul. Morell, convinced, pays Jody $1 million for the necklace, but immediately takes it back and knocks out Jody and Abdul. After Morell, Lois, and Jimmy are clear, Clark shoves one of the lackeys and causes a cave-in. He has a heart-to-heart with Jody about his scam, which involved a breakable knife and blanks in the gun, to achieve fame and fortune, then sneaks off to change to Superman. I love the shove. I love when he just gives that guy a big push. Did you notice, though? Obviously, they're not real rocks, but when those rocks were coming down, Abdul and Jody were getting falling all over him,
getting banged. Yeah. I thought that was a good practical moment there. And it's smart move by Clark. Do the cave in, separate everybody. These people are passed out over here, right? So I can talk freely. And I feel like they must have like a standing cave set on this show, because how many episodes there people are in caves and then Superman's busting through caves and walls. I think that is some of the most iconic imagery of this show. In fact, I think there's really often used GIF of this very episode of Superman busting through I recognized it. I did that Leonardo DiCaprio. Speaking of GIFs, I did the Leonardo DiCaprio GIF myself when I saw that, because the Superman busting through the cave wall. I feel like they end up in a cave like in every third or fourth episode here. But it's impressive to see, it's the 1950s. Their budget is what it is. What can they do? We can have George run through a paper mache wall and it can look pretty impressive, and they do it, and it does. Yeah,
they made the most of what they had. I know if this were your show, I know you'd have a cave count.
Cave count, yeah.
That was one of the pieces of it. I reached out to you before I started this, like any advice, and you suggested having counts of varying kinds, and I ended up not. I did take your advice to heart, considered it, but then I was like, I don't know that I want to have to be bothered with that. But
it's a lot of hard work, man. You probably, your life is better for it that you didn't do that. Trust me. But no, I like this scene where he talks to the doctor, and doctor's like, "This is my life's work, and I knew if I could make money off of this magic necklace, I could fund more expeditions." Like, he's not some nefarious villain with an evil plot. He just wanted more money for his research, and it's relatable.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I going back to what we were saying about the comparison to season 1, I feel like, and this episode is not an isolated incident, but especially in this episode, Clark is relatively gentle, right? As he's having this discussion with him, where I say to myself, I don't know, season 1 Clark,
no mercy.
That might have just been it. Yeah.
Yeah, because the guy's like, oh, we're trapped here. He's like, well, that's what happens when you try to rip people off or whatever. Clark, like he's calling him out, but he is being more gentle handed about it. But it's a good, it's a good human moment between the two of them. And I didn't want to see them die.
No,
because they weren't true villains. They were just, scientists who just wanted more funding for their digs.
Well, and it's interesting too, because yes, there's this fraud that they're crafting, but Morrell, this crook anyway. It's like if he had believed this and bought it, it's like, serves him right, this guy.
Right. He ripped off of the millionaire thief, right? That's another way you can go. Where like he takes it and then he tries to go do something. Season one version of this, he takes it, he goes and does something and he gets shot.
Yeah.
And the twist is, it didn't work. And that's the reveal. And it's like some Twilight Zone, justice, universal justice, where he dies from using the necklace. But no, we're not doing that now. We're not in that area of the show anymore, but it's another season 1 what if you could have with this story.
Yeah. In another chamber of the cave, Morrell ties up Lois and Jimmy and lights dynamite. Okay, I have to stop here. Maybe I missed something. Why could they not run? Were they weren't tied to the ground, were they?
I mean, it's hard to run when you're tied. I don't know. You don't know the caves. There's a lot of
fair. It just felt like they're like, we can't move, but I felt like their hands were tied. But all right, maybe they were a little bit more incapacitated.
They're just so used to being kidnapped at this point. It's like it's second nature to them.
Yeah, I suppose. Superman arrives, karate chops all the bad guys, and saves Lois and Jimmy. Jimmy claims the necklace would have saved him anyway. Lois, with Superman's nodding approval, kicks Jimmy hard in the shin to disabuse him of this notion.
I thought that was the funniest thing.
Yeah. She got over almost being blown up instantly. Well, to your point, they go through this all the time, so it probably wouldn't be that traumatic at this point.
You know what? This is, I was on the human bomb, right? That's another instance where Jimmy, he's like, that dynamite was fake. It wouldn't have hurt us. And at the end, they're like, actually, Jimmy, it wasn't fake. He would have died, right? This is a similar situation. He thought it's okay, Miss Slade, we're touching the necklace. It was before the cave-in. And it was like, Clark was like gonna sneak off and like you see him start to undo his tie, but then he realizes, this is all fake. I don't need to be Superman. So he comes back, he puts his tie back on. I thought that was a fun moment.
Yeah.
I guess that's when he starts. I don't know how he figures it out at that point, but he clocks it. Oh, this is all fake. So I'm not going to worry about it. I guess that's when he figures it out with probably X-ray vision or something. Right.
Yeah. I assume. Yeah. That was a funny moment. Yeah. I assume he's X-raying the gun and or the knife. Right.
Yeah. Because Jimmy's like, Mr. Kid. He's like, I'm right here, Jimmy. He slides back into the shot. So, but no, some good Superman busting through wall cave action here. And yeah, I mean, I guess this season, I feel like maybe the whole show, it usually has some like button where like they're all back at the office talking. So I was kind of waiting for that. I mean, this show ends abruptly, as all things did in this era. It was like there was no epilogue. There's no. That just ends immediately. So, but yeah, when they started laughing, I'm like, oh, this must be the end, because when they all start laughing, that's the end of the show. So I could have used a nice epilogue somewhere back, but they had already explained everything, and that's why the order is a little bit different than I guess the usual one, because Clark talks to the professor like in the cave, and that kind of resolves all the mysteries, and then there's a little bit of action, and then they have their good laugh at the end. Usually it's like the last scene, well, Jimmy, you see, I painted the cat's claws with poison or whatever, and he's explaining it there. So a little bit of mix up of the format. So I give him credit there, right?
Yeah, actually, that makes me think. I wonder, did they need to let us know it was a ruse as early as they did? Because it's after Clark is shot, and then I think it seems like there was a commercial break, and then you come back and you have that little conversation, that side conversation about, well, yeah, we know it's fake, but we'll use this. I mean, they probably could have even held that further, but yeah, you're right. By the time we get to the end, there's nothing more to be explained. Oh. And I would say generally this was not a show built for the denouement. It's just kind of like, we have our climax. Yeah. Someone will have some clever line or joke, and here they had a perfect opportunity with Jimmy and his kick to the shin.
Yeah, because I guess I would have wanted more like of a comeuppance for the millionaire crook, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like Jimmy just kind of wrestles the necklace away from him, and then he gets knocked out by Superman. And like, that's it. Like, I would have liked some. This thing doesn't work at all. There wasn't really a beat like that, was there? Because Superman just comes in and, like you said, knocks them all out. So,
yeah, that's I think what's missing. I like we're saying, I wouldn't expect them to do what they would have done in season 1, where Morel wears this to a crime and dies.
Get shot.
But even just in that cave, yeah, I think that's what was you needed a moment where he has this realization.
Yeah,
that this
like
was
Jimmy
something.
knocks him out. He's like, "Oh man, it didn't even work." And then the slide whistle sound effect or something. He falls over. So I don't know. That's a beat they could have added in there. So it is funny how rushed these are, but then there are also there's also silly padding in half these episodes too. It's like one less gag with Jimmy earlier, and we could have had a little bit more stuff at the end. It wouldn't be so rushed, but they made these in 2 days, so I'm not going to be too hard on it, right?
Fair. All right, the moment of truth. On a scale of 1 to 5, Great Caesar's Ghosts. We're now on our color season grading scale. How many would you give the magic necklace?
I'm going to give this one a 3. I think it was pretty enjoyable. I like that it was a little out of format, so to speak. Again, I love a good Superman cave action. Some iconic images here of George Reeves busting through walls, and again, I like the layer, kind of, if you want to call it a double twist, where it was an imagined necklace after all. So that was a fun, unexpected swerve of the story. So I'm going to give it the 3 Great Caesar's Ghosts out of 5.
Right on. I'm close. I'm going to go 2.5. I'll go 2.5 because I guess when I reflect on it, there weren't so many problems I had with it. It was mostly, I feel like there was a huge missed opportunity with Clark having to pretend, and then a couple of other things that maybe I would have liked to see expanded or finessed a little differently. But overall, it was not an episode where I had major gripes with it. So yeah, it was solid. I got 2.5.
I mean, as someone who was watching these and like all of them in order, this was good. This was good.
Yeah.
this is following up some rough ones, to be honest. So, in my opinion, so that probably helped with my score
for sure. Now, as we mentioned, you're the host of Always Hold On to Smallville. You recently concluded your series rewatch, but the podcast continues. Is there anything you want to share with folks? With anything you can tease about what's coming up, or anything you want to share generally?
Well, we're in the summer of Superman here, so we're definitely going to have some, and probably do have, by the time you hear this, have some coverage of James Gunn Superman. So I look forward to that. And then, there are lots of Smallville. I've been saying this a lot as the episode by episode coverage has been winding down. I just want to remind people there's a lot of Smallville comic books and novels out there. Have a couple fun podcast projects in the works as well. So stay tuned. I'm taking a little bit of a break because, hey, I just did 218 episodes. I know it took me 8 years, but still, it's a lot of work. So
2 years less than it took them. So
that's right. I did it faster than they did. But Always On to Smallville is always out there. So you can find us at Always Smallville with 1 S on social media.
Right on. I'm especially looking forward to the novels and the comic book coverage, because with the exception of Smallville season 11, pretty much all the rest of it will be new to me. So it'll be fun to come along on that ride with you. So yeah, I encourage everyone to check that out. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, audience. Make sure you come back next week. And until then, as always, only Superman can do super things. Support the show and receive exclusive content, including the spin-off podcast Beyond Metropolis, by becoming a member at patreon.com/Anthony Desiato. My sincere thanks to all patrons. Please subscribe, rate, and review today via your platform of choice, and continue the conversation by joining us on social media. Links are in the show notes. Flat Squirrel Podcast is also home to Digging for Kryptonite, a Superman fan journey, a long-running weekly series mining Superman's vast mythology across time and media. Subscribe today.